of technical difficulties with our streaming, so our technical team here, we're trying to figure it out, get it going. But again, welcome everybody to the 9th annual Mississaugas of the Credit Historical Gathering. I'm glad everybody made it. Glad to see everybody here. I know we have one bus on its way. I was just told by Carolyn King, and they're just in Caledonia. So again, welcome. My name is Evan Salt, member here of the First Nation, and I'm also a counselor on Chief and Council. And I'm very privileged and honored to be here with you throughout the next 2.5 days. So bear with me because you're stuck with me. So to get things started, I would like to call up our drum group here from the First Nation, Alternative Roots. Chief Miigwech Jordan Jameson and the Alternative Roots Drum Group. Let's have one more round of applause for the drum group. Doing a lot of openings and a lot of drum throughout the Ontario, throughout Canada, so I'm really proud to have them here open at our own historic gathering. Up next, I will have our chief making his way to the stage. So welcome Chief Stacy LaForme.
Thank you. You know, I've been traveling around Southern Ontario for a while now, and this is probably the best looking group of people I've ever seen. So thanks. It's not always easy getting up here looking at a mean crowd. So if you were here last year, you might have noticed that last year at this time I had participated in a fundraiser during December, and my hair was shaved off. So last year, if you were here, you'd probably see that I was short-haired and gray. Miraculously, my hair's grown back and it's gone back to its original color. Ani, Mazook, Nagani, Nishtabekanini, Stacy LaForme, Disnakaz, Kurdunjuba, Mainga Dolam, Mississauga, Nishnabek Dao. You know, I wanted to talk about two things, but first I wanted to thank everybody for coming and being prompt, because you know we like to start right on time. And I'd just like to say that I apologize for the delay, and tomorrow you can expect much of the same. So, I don't know if you're aware, but we've embarked on a path of I don't want to say reconciliation, but we've embarked on a path of nationhood with the Mississaugas. And there's going to be a lot of representation from the Mississaugas across Ontario. You know, Scugog, Alderville, Kirk Lake, Hiawatha, Mississauga from Blind River. You know, they're all members of the Mississauga Nation, and we're working toward, I don't want to say we're working toward building that relationship, because we've never lost that relationship, because we are and will always be family. But we have to come to an understanding of that. So we started this journey about 5 years ago. And we were at the first gathering, and I wrote a poem, and I do that from time to time. And I wrote a poem called Nationhood during the discussions we were having at our meeting. And I read this to the chiefs and the elders and the people gathered in attendance. And I'm going to share it with you just because there are going to be a lot of Mississauga here and telling their story. So it's called Nationhood. It is not a means to an end. It is our means to the future. It is not about financial growth. It's not about political clout. These things will come as they must. But nationhood is about who we are, who our children are. It is the recognition that we were and are a nation unto ourselves. Our nation stems from our shared history, culture, language, and values. First and foremost, we are brothers and sisters, families. No boundaries of land or government tactics have ever stopped me from being your brother. We have been apart for some time, but no more. It is not right to keep our families, our communities apart. So we will walk together. We will rejuvenate our nation. We will take the first step to the past, a past that will ensure our future. Our first step must be one of education, education of our shared history. Our elders can provide this knowledge. We must walk before we run. We must remember and teach, but we must not wait. Our people want this. Our children need this. All of our internal issues, all our external issues, will be resolved in time. Our fights will be many, but we will win, for we must. Nationhood is not a means to an end. It is a path to our people's future. You can applaud if you like. I read that because, as I said, the Mississaugas are here, and yes, we are moving towards, I hope, nationhood and unity And it's beyond that, you know. It's not just the Mississauga, it doesn't end there. It goes beyond that to the Anishinaabe, it goes beyond that to those Indigenous relations, it goes beyond that to Canada. But first and foremost is the value and importance of the Mississauga nations. And we are moving that way, but we're moving slow. And I am not always as patient as I should be. And so that, you know, the journey, and while I believe in it wholeheartedly and support it immensely, you know, I just hope that in the future we can meet more often, take more steps to see that unification quicker for the sake of all of us. So welcome to a small part of the treaty land of the Mississaugas of the Anishinaabe. I want to welcome the family, friends, and allies that we have in attendance. You know, this is a gathering to tell stories and the history of the Mississaugas. But it's not just about bringing that information to the world. It's also about remembering who we were and who we want to be. Fundamentally, it's about empowerment. It's about bringing our past alive. And it's not just us. This is a theme that goes across this land and across the world. The rediscovery of the Indigenous people's culture, heritage, history, and beliefs. And the timing, I believe, has purpose. The timing has a reason. See, we're in a chaotic time in the world when the earth herself is threatened. Our beliefs, our knowledge are needed to support the collective, the overall. For we cannot do this alone. We need everybody because we all have different gifts. So, and when I talk about us and our gifts and stuff, I don't talk about myself or chief and council. We have a small role to play in that, but this is about the elders, the teachers, the many people who do so much to encourage the redevelopment and the recognition of our history and our culture. You know, our friends and allies are involved in that. So, every fight we fight is about a cause, yes, but fundamentally, it's also about empowerment. Now, empowerment is a great thing. It makes us all better, stronger, it unifies us. But the greatest thing about empowerment is that when it starts, it spreads. It doesn't end at our door. It grows beyond the boundaries of our reserve. It touches cities, countries, it touches the world and all the people of the world. So while we are growing our knowledge of who we're meant to be, we also empower our friends, families, and allies, who in turn empower us. And the world needs us, all of us. So I'd like to end with a poem. I'll just read it. So, no one thing can define us, for we are complex creatures dreamed in the mind of the Creator. We laugh when we should cry. We cry when we should laugh. We joke when in pain. We smile because tears could consume us. We love unconditionally and totally. We understand that family should come first, yet family is not defined solely by blood. We are quick to anger, yet no one forgives faster. We are loyal and we are strong. When we commit, we are unwavering. We have survived much, but do not mistake adaptation for resignation. For you will always see us, for we will always be here, standing for what we believe in, standing beside each other, doing what is right for our children, our future. We remember our obligation to our Mother the Earth, and we remember our place upon her. We are a proud people, an honorable people. We do not always do right, for we are human, and prone to the follies of humanity. Yet we strive to be better, to make each other better, to make the world a better place for the children. I know the Creator smiles upon us, no matter where we are or what we do, for the love of a child is unconditional. No matter where life takes you, walk proud. So I read you that poem, and I believe that everybody can see a small part of themselves in that poem. I'm sure you can. And I read that so that you understand that no matter how far apart we may seem, we are never so far apart that we can't find common ground. And the world needs us to find common ground. And we need each other to do this work. Miigwech, thank you so much.
Geez, not only did you have to sit through a half-an-hour time, just put you through that. No, Chief Wigwitch, Chief, as always, I chirp the Chief every now and then. We travel quite a bit, but thanks again, Chief. Our Chief, whose heart is here with the nation, and he puts us out there. He gets us, he gets our name out there in our treaty lands and territory. And like I said, in the last 5 years, we've created a lot of waves and moving forward and being acknowledged and recognized and getting our dues. We still have a long way to go, but with him leading the way, we're going to follow behind and do what we have to do to get there. So once again, let's have a round of applause for our Chief. Up next, I'd like to call up Kathy Jameson, fellow councillor here at First Nation. She's going to be doing a drum presentation to the Mississauga Nation.
There's a recording there, but I'm sure it won't stream through.
Here's Councillor Kathy Jameson.
Sa mga panabikin sa Indian cause, Granite County Bob, Makodode, Manishnabin, Mississauga, Gal. My name is Kathy Jameson. I currently hold the position here as the band counselor for the community, but also at my own time, my own born passion as I'm an artist. This last year, we worked with the York University Art Gallery when we had commissioned a piece and held an exhibit in September, which talked about Indigenous people of Americas. I've been working with the York University for the past 10 years on some of these projects, and every time the curator and the director come back to the community to say, we want to work with the Indigenous people because they recognize the Indigenous lands that they're on, York University, Toronto, Oakville, anywhere within, as you see within your maps. So having that recognition and that acknowledgement is a feat that it has taken us years to just place those acknowledgements. And because of that passion of the gallery, their theme is that announcing the Indigenous peoples of the lands, whether it was South America or North America. This year we had worked with an artist from Mexico. Her name was Betsabe Romero, and in that 5-part exhibition, we had actually created different elements of 10-foot flutes that when you walked up to them, they illuminated within the color of the chakras. But it was not talking about the acknowledgement of sound, but the acknowledgement of participation and activating self into the work. Within the second part, it was looking at identification of marker trees, our natural wayfinding on the lands here for our geographical area. And so that was casted in bronze and projected onto the walls. In the third part, there was vinyl signs that were kind of like how you see your street signs today, telling you to stop, go, merge, dead end, you can't go here. Much as that is directional, it's telling us what to do, it's not actually getting us to reflect. So in May, we had a few of our community members pair up with Betsabe to kind of root ourselves back into those origins of what it meant for us as just people of the land. Trying to refine down those terminologies to things like roots, braided hair, heartbeat, drums, kind of those, what are those significant symbols and signs that we can easily identify, but that it means something. So we produced 7 different designs and posted them within the gallery as not a directional interpretation, but more of that reflect on where you are. So one says the right of way, one has a heartbeat that folds out into strands of braided hair. So it's more of those decorative pieces that our community and the other Mississauga communities could post within their own, whether it's in a building or if they want to put it as a street sign, reflecting to your community, whether they're on the reserve or as your community members, or if it's people passing through. So it's not just saying welcome to Mississauga's of credit, but it's saying, you know, stop and acknowledge self, stop and acknowledge the water, the lands, the resources. And in our 4th part, we created 6 big drums, and that's what's kind of posted down here. We had, went and got hides, we sewed them, we were prepping them. Jordan, my brother who was up here singing, they're like, all right, we have a task. You two are gonna make 6 big drums for us. We're like, this isn't something to take on lightly. Like it's for the Indigenous perspective, it's a lifelong connection. So I had to ask our own community members, some of the elders, is it appropriate? Because it was then gonna be seen as an aesthetic in an exhibition of an art show. So the drums were able to be made knowing that they were only going to be aesthetic and not birthed in that traditional process. But what was asked was, what are you going to do after the show's done in December? Where's those materials going to go? Because we know you don't just make something for nothing. So what was then decided upon is that the gallery and the artist said she wanted them to be gifted back to the communities. So thinking in preparatory for this session and looking at our Mississauga Nation as growing as a bigger whole, saying this is then materialistic personification and then that uniqueness of our heart, that beat, that strong, that going forward. So what was given back was these 6 drums. I had one of our other singers up here create the bags that were on there. It is put on with our Mississauga Nation's logo, has tobacco and they're wrapped as blankets. They haven't been brought through the traditional process, but it's up to each individual First Nations if that's what they want to do, or if they just want to repurpose the materials. But it was from the beginning wanting to give those back. And in the final part of the exhibition, it was this crown. Kind of like our headpieces are straight. Our headpieces represent those birds that are just local to us. Where for Bensabé, they were the most colorful headpieces. And she had 6 headdresses creating one super headdress. Talking about the hierarchy of leadership, the scale. And in a way, it went full circle right back to the beginning with the flutes, because it was trying to personify birds. And in a way, it was her background and our background as local Mississauga peoples. There was such a similarity in likeness. We're just trying to embellish ourselves and emblazon ourselves to those otherworldly figures like birds, having good qualities, having that freedom, having that heart, having that sound. But we're always together, like that family. So that's what I looked at as these sessions, is our Mississauga gatherings, our historical gatherings. You're just calling a family meeting. You're just trying to bring everybody back one more time. So as a token for the project and from our community to the other Mississauga nations, we are gifting each drum to a nation. So if you have a representative here, you're able to take it this week, today, or just by Saturday. And if you can't, just contact me and I'll be able to get your drum to you. All right, Chibach, thank you.
Miigwech, Kathy. Okay, I'd like to call the chief to the stage another time. He has a flag presentation that he's going to present. And I'll let him speak on that. We have a few visitors here with us that he's going to acknowledge, so Chief will form.
Thanks, Evan, for the little dig earlier. Appreciate it. I said, give a heartfelt speech like that and take a shot at me. But that's who we are. So, you know, I'd like to mention the fact that I get to present the flag to our guests here, but, you know, Councillor Irma Farrell and former Chief Carolyn King, you know, who's now an elder for us, played a big role in working with and do a lot of the work around the outreach and letting people understand who we are. So I wanted to mention their name in regards to the hard work, but I'd also like to invite up Hamzan Al-Juji from Oakville Secondary School, if you join me on stage. So I was going to tell you some of the history of the relationship here, but I'll let him do that himself.
To begin, it's a privilege for me to be here. I'm so happy and joyful to be in such an ambience here, such a diverse ambience that celebrates unity. And I'm honored to shake Chief Stacy LaForum's hand as well, and I'm honored to receive gifts that will speak volumes, bonds that fill my heart with joy. To give you a bit on this project, I'll just go back to the beginning, where I believe the root of it came. It all began in 2013 when I first came to Canada, and I was in Ms. Vanderwall's class, who's here with us today. And in that class, I learned a lot about the history that I'm sure we're all aware of. And in that class, I also had one day where Mr. Tidridge, who has come with us as well, and he taught me a bit about the Treaty of Niagara, one of many treaties that I have learned about. And then came last year, there was an opportunity for me. It was presented that the province of Ontario would provide a grant to any project that they think is worthy of the grant. And so I went to the administration and I told them that we have to celebrate the diversity and recognize Indigenous culture within our communities. And so the project began. I went to my vice principal, then I went to Ms. Vanderwall, I went to Nathan Tidridge, Elder Carolyn King, and finally Councillor Irma Farrell. And with us, we came together. We had a lot of bumps on the way, whether it was the grant, issues with the grant, or issues with time conflicts, you can name it. But in the end, we worked together, and with each bump that came, we went over it. And it's amazing how a group of people, each of which come from a different background, who have different strengths, have different attributes, we were still able to come together. But what united us? A common goal. We were all united by a common goal. We were united by our diversity. We were united for the sake of unity. And it's that message that I want to have to impart with the project that I have done, and what I wish that you would understand today. And it's the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. It's these emergent properties that make a nation or a community so great. It's how these different parts come together to form a complex structure that is greater than the sum of its parts. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your applause. Never, it was hard to come by, so I never want to interrupt anyone. But he didn't tell you the part where the grant that they thought they had in their hands was pulled away, and so they had to continue that work without the grant, and they moved forward with that. So, on behalf of the Mississaugas and other people of the credit and the hard work you've done, I'd like to present you with a flag for your school. And because of your hard work and commitment, we'd also like to present you with a flag that you can have personally and hang for yourself.
So up next in the program, we do have the Wyola Desmond Public School announcement. Nathan Tidridge and Christine Vanderwall. So if they would like to come to the stage. And also I'd call the chief back to the stage. I know the school would like them to be here. These were the students, their bus, they had a little bit of a delay coming in, traffic issues, bus issues, and as soon as you hit that Indian time zone, you just kind of they were getting close and they started.
We are from Viola Desmond Public School in Milton. Our school opened this year. In fact, we just moved into our building in January. We are proud to be the first school in Canada named for civil rights leader Viola Desmond. All of us in grades 5 to 7 have engaged in important learning around Indigenous perspectives this year. Some of our most impactful explorations have centered around Mother Earth and how connected all living things are. We have had important discussions around our responsibility as living things on this land, inspired by the Dish with One Spoon Treaty.
You learned about treaties, specifically the Treaty of Wampum and the Treaty of Niagara, that connect us in an important relationship. We're beginning to understand our responsibilities as treaty people on Turtle Island. We've read about the history of displacement, of separation. We've engaged in deep and important explorations around residential schools and their intergenerational impacts.
Our school sits on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. It is important to us to honor the land and you, our treaty people, or our partners. We would like to announce our intent to work with Elder Carolyn King to install a moccasin identifier on our property during our grand opening. We'd also like to invite our community and yours to our opening. We'd hope that this mark the beginning of a relationship based in friendship and love. Chi Miigwech for welcoming us to the community today.
I thought that was an awful tall young lady that came in. So, I got to say a couple of things after that, right? You know, thank you very much for coming and presenting and being brave and standing on our stage and talking to this diverse group. You know, thanks Carolyn for your hard work, and this Nathan too, and all those who have been involved. You know, as a person who's in political field and a person who's involved in leadership and discussions and such, it's very hard not to get discouraged and frustrated with the processes and things in Canadian life and how the interaction that takes so long to get things accomplished. But I always say that going to school or seeing young people stand up and talk and recognize the history, recognize the future and what their responsibilities are, gives me hope for the future. And so, can we have another round of applause, please? Thank you very much. There's an MC around there somewhere.
Miigwech Chief, and again, Miigwech Carolyn King and Councillor Irma Farrell, and again, take you to the school, the Viola Desmond Public School. So a lot of you, most of you here understand and heard the saying Indian time. So for those of you who are visiting here today from the towns and the cities, you can go back home today and you can actually tell your family and friends that you were on Indian time. Exactly that. Okay, so that's it for our openings. I have a couple of announcements to make. Again, I'm Councillor Evan Salt. I'll be your MC for the next 2.5 days. I would like to start off by having our own Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation Chief and Council letter in attendance. Can you please stand? So as you see, we have Chief Stacy LaForme, Councillor Kathy Jameson, Councillor Veronica King Jameson, Councillor Larry Salt, Councillor Irma, if you're still standing, you're blending in. Councillor Irma Farrell, and we do have Councillor Bill LaForme here and Councillor Steffi LaForme. So if anybody in the crowd here on break or during lunch, don't hesitate if you have any questions. You know, you if you have any questions, please ask our counselors, ask our chief if you do have any questions. So thanks. Welcome to our chief and council. Also in attendance, we have Chief Phyllis Williams from the Curve Lake First Nation. And she has Councilor Jacob and Councilor Yukon from Curve Lake. Would you please have them stand? Welcome, Chief Phyllis and your councilors. Glad to see you here. Also, this afternoon we will be having Mayor Bailey of Grant County and Mayor Kevin Davis of the City of Brantford will also be in attendance this afternoon. Now I'd like to acknowledge and recognize our list of sponsors who have helped us put this on, this annual event. So I'd like to start off by thanking Miigwech, the Peace Hills Trust, Deloitte, Enbridge, Joan Holmes and Associates, PST Law, Alex Bonham and Colin Salter, and CN Rail. We also have Hydro One, Boothel Goodman, and the Historical Society of Toronto. So let's have a round of applause for our sponsors who help us bring this together and bring this to you. In the back room, in our boardroom, we do have some booths set up on display with some information and that you, during break, we please ask if you are going to visit the booth area that you do go on breaks. That way we're not really interrupting any of the presentations or the speakers. But in the boardroom, we have the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation Governance Table. We have the CN Rail Table, the Moccasin Identifier, Hydro One, and the Biodiversity Table. So like I said, when you get a chance, on break, on lunch, go in, take a look, see what they have, information. It's all there for you to take a look at, and there's some material that you guys can also take. Also at our front table where you come in and you register, you got your name tagged. There's a lot of documents there on our history of Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. A lot of documents, a lot of information on our history and our traditions and legacies. Also the bathrooms. So if you're walking out of the hall area here, the bathrooms are in the corner on your right. So if you're walking in, they're on the left. Just got to make sure I go through all my housekeeping things. Amanda, our coordinator, Amanda Salt, our historical gathering coordinator is Amanda Salt, and working alongside our Lands Membership and Research Department. So let's have a round of applause. They're the ones that organize, coordinate,